Devonté Hynes, as I'm sure you all know. We'd like to welcome you to the Brooklyn edition of Roll Back, Say That for Saint Heron. We're gonna talk about stuff, and yeah, that's it. I don't really know how else to start.
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
So, I believe that everyone here knows that you have a new album out called Entitlement Sound. I would imagine they know.
They may not.
Anybody? Y'all feeling the album? Feeling it? Oh yeah. Cool. So I wanted to talk to you a little about. I know that you're a New York transplant. You're from London.
Yes. Yeah.
And you've been living here for what, like 9 years now?
Yeah. I've been living here 9 years, just over that.
And kind of tell me like what it like your creative process in the city, kind of what it's like recording in the city, writing in the city.
Yeah. So my vibe is a little crazy because I never go. I'm never like, I'm going to make an album. Here's 2 months of me in a room making an album and writing. You know, it's never really like that. And so the albums I put out are, it's weird because to me they're like compilations of my life in a 2 or 3 year period. And so each song, there's so many particular moments that I associate with them, because when I write, a lot of times the lyrics are either freestyled or completely not freestyled. Like they're written in a book and I'm sitting usually in like Washington Square Park or somewhere. So it's usually like a 2 or 3 year period where I'm recording like every day and at night in my apartment, and if I happen to have a studio at that time, I'll be recording there, and then I'll probably get kicked out of that studio within that 2 year period, and so I'm back in my apartment. And then what happens is, and it's so weird because this has really happened with the last few albums in the exact same way, where you could talk to me one day and say, like, hey, like, you working on an album? Is there an album happening? And I'll tell you there's no album. All of it sounds like shit. I'm never going to release music ever again. I hate everything I do. And then something will happen the next day. Like I'll see where it can all go. And that's totally what happens. So then when that happens, I then spend about 2 months just day and night, 24/7, just like trying to make things like mesh together and mix them and like fine tune vocal parts, and I'll do that, and then it's done. And that's the process. It's pretty weird. Like, do
you think like you said, you like to sit in Washington Square Park? Do you think that the hecticness of the city, a little bit absorbing the city sounds, kind of helps you stay off that track of, I'm gonna write an album and it's gonna be about XYZ, and kind of let you kind of almost piecemeal all your thoughts? Yeah,
no, definitely. And if anything, in the mixing process of this album, I mixed it with my friend Blue, who he's a legend. He's like the best guy and the only person I work with if I'm collaborating and producing other people's stuff. Like, he's the guy I'll go in with to do that. And honestly, the mixing process of this one was, I was trying to make it not as hectic as my head actually is. Like, I was trying to, I don't want to say make it accessible, but I really wanted it to flow and have every moment be enjoyable. I didn't want there to be a moment that was just there for the sake of it. Like you could pinpoint or ask me about any second on the album or any type of sound, and I can give you like an essay as to why that moment is there, you know?
So you say that, and do you think that maybe it's crazy you say it's enjoyable? I do find it enjoyable, but also obviously the themes of the album are so heavy, maybe because of the time, and not maybe, definitely because of the time, like, let's keep it real. So do you think that not even do you think, was part of making it enjoyable because you knew you were touching on such heavy shit, or because you yourself were trying to find positivity?
Yeah,
what you were thinking about
that's definitely it. I mean, there was a period and there was a group of songs that I wrote that aren't on this album, but they were dark. Like, they were heavy and dark, and I, for a period, didn't record like last year. It was the longest period I can recall in my life where I stopped recording, because I started thinking that maybe this shouldn't be released. Like, I felt weird about it, and I had to basically come to terms with the fact that, well, what I do is make music, which means that not necessarily all the music I make would be for people to listen to. It's just how I get my feelings and emotions out. And so I kind of came to terms with the fact that maybe these songs that I was writing, that I was feeling weird about, was me just getting some things out of my system. And so I kept doing that, and in that process got to a point where of like hope and wanting to kind of spread some kind of love out there. And so I kind of had to like really push through that moment, but it was dark. Like, I really, because music is like, you know, my one true love. That's like what I breathe and live, and I was so down and depressed about so many things that I really didn't I couldn't, like, I didn't want to make anything because it was just coming out so wrong and dark.
So I saw you were tweeting about how only like I think you said only 3 songs on the past like 2 LPs have been about relationships, dig deeper. And I think about that all the time, because a lot of times when I listen to your albums, I just listen to them as it's like sonically, like your voice becomes part of the beat for me.
Oh, cool.
Kind of like creates I feel like it's more atmospheric in many ways. Not to say I'm not paying attention, but like it's more absorbed. And I think when you say dig deeper, I think a lot of it, when I think about why people would tie it to a relationship, I think it's a lot of the intimacy, and you really don't hold back in a lot of your music. And I just kind of want to ask you what it's like to be so intimate in your music and have it become so much for others. Like, you're writing something, like you said, that's in your brain, that you were feeling, that you were going through, but this album is out and now it's like it's like part of the Black Pantheon albums of the year. You know what I mean? Obviously other people's interpretation of it is beyond what you can control, but how does it feel like to have that be interpreted that way? And to
it's interesting. I mean, it's cool. I mean, I think that is, I mean, going back to the first part, I think because I'm so open and emotional in the music I do, I think that's why it gets tied to relationships, because I think usually when people are expressing such honesty and vulnerability in their music, they're talking about a relationship. And so I think that's why people always kind of bring that back around to me. And also stylistically and I guess aesthetically in my music, that style of the different things I do is usually associated with love and relationships. But yeah, it's funny because one thing that keeps being said to me, I've noticed lately, is that, well, you know what, I should say, it's not actually people saying it to me, it's like journalists. I don't know, I mean, they're the same thing, I guess, but but they, you know, they'll say to me like, this is your most personal album. It's like, I mean, it's like, I didn't get someone else to write the one before, you know? It's like, so I think that's interesting. I mean, because of the topics I'm talking about, it's like, so this is the personal one. And it's like, no, they're all personal, but like, I'm 30 years old and like a lot of motherfuckers are killing black people out there, so it's on my mind, you know? It's really what it is. It's still just as personal. And then the other thing, which I think is interesting, is that it keeps being called a political album. And I understand the power of, if you're in being yourself, and if you're honest, that in itself is a political statement, and I get that. But there's a deeper thing in that which really bothers me, because I think it's a case of, I was talking about this yesterday actually, but for example, like YG has a song called Fuck Donald Trump. People aren't calling YG's album political. And the only reason they're not doing that is because they think he's maybe like inarticulate and he's not expressing it in a way that someone who is political would be expressing something. His album, if you're going to put it next to mine, is way more political than mine. He's literally talking about the Republican candidate and saying fuck him. Like, that's politics, you know what I'm saying? So it's kind of interesting, and I always think that's kind of funny, because I'm talking about a whole wide range of emotions, but I think just because of how I've like released it and how I'm choosing to express it, it's making people pay attention to it in a certain way.
Well, do you think that's also because when you're black, you can only be a singular genius, right? What YG is doing, what YG is doing is something that, like, to them, tons of black men do, right?
Well,
Every black man's a rapper, but
exactly,
to them, you are weird. You're not their idea of blackness. So do you find that a lot of times, like they're pushing you towards that? Are you? I feel like you're mad aware of that.
Oh, I'm too aware of it. It's a problem. Like, I'm too aware of it. Yeah, it's funny, you know. I get it. I've had it my whole life in very different ways, like as a negative, and you could call it a positive now because it's given me like a platform to just kind of be myself. But I'm very, very aware of it. You know, before this album was even released, people were interviewing me saying like, so you've made a really long political album. And I was just like, my album is literally half an hour shorter than Kendrick's and like 25 minutes shorter than Beyonce's. Like, you know what I mean? Like, they just kind of had the image in their head already that, oh shit, this is going to be the political, like, saying shit album. But, you know, but I should say that was mainly like, it was mainly white journalism. And I mean, I don't know, there was some people. I had an amazing conversation actually with a German interviewer who, it started off all kinds of wrong. Like it started off so bad. Oh my god, like he was talking about what did he say? He was talking about like use of saxophone and brass and woodwinds in my music, and he was talking about like E Street Band and all these kind of like 80s, you know, like George Michael and stuff. And I had to be like, that's cool, but you know those instruments existed before the 80s. Like there was there's a thing called jazz, and there was all these musicians and they were playing this music. And you know, Into Your Girlfriend, that was my bad. I shouldn't have, like, whatever. But it was like, I felt like this disconnect, and I could see that he kind of had gone into the interview with this like very specific angle about me. But the reason why this interview has like stuck with me more than the other ones is because I kind of called him out in it, and he became fully aware. And we ended up having such an amazing conversation and talking about his place as a music writer. And it was weird. Like I almost started interviewing him, and he was like telling me about how he feels. He knows that he is a white man in this world, and he doesn't know if he should be touching on certain subjects. You know, it was that shit. It's pretty classic. You know that. You know that shit. You've come across that shit.
I'm aware, and I think the thing is, those conversations always strike me, and the reason I in the past, like personally, in the past like year, I've really fallen in love with your Twitter because of how much you use the word nigga, and I think that it's such an affirming way for a black. So a lot of people say to me like, you use the word nigga in front of white people a lot, and I'm like, yeah, because I need them to remember that I know what they know, which is that I'm the nigga in the room.
Exactly.
Like, I'm here.
That's exactly
so
it.
when I see you saying that and talking about that, I think about how many people, when I speak to white journalists about you and their idea of how quick they are to speak to, because they relate to the way that you speak about race, they're so quick to be able to think that they can speak for the way that you do race.
Yeah.
And I think that as a black artist in this time, when you're making black music, it's really important to remember that there are people that are always going to speak for you. And I find that with this album when it was coming out, you said like, I'm not doing interviews. You were calling people out. You were like, last time y'all wrote about me, I was talking shit.
Dude, I don't give a fuck. I will name all those publications. Like,
and how do you like? I know how I got to that freedom place. How do you feel like you got there, and where do you see yourself going with it as a black artist when you get to that fuck y'all place? It's a real
location.
Not for real. It's like drop a little dot, like we're here.
It is great. I like built a house and I don't know how I got there, honestly. I think I just too many situations. I just got, over the last few years specifically, I was just in I just had too many incidents and too many situations where I don't have any control. And you know, once you have that realization that you don't have full control in a situation, I mean, this is coming out super inarticulate, but it really creates a freedom. The realization, because you stop not like fighting, but you stop trying to find like the cracks, like to try and get some leverage or something. Like once you realize that like that situation's not there, so you need to actually just essentially create your own situation and know that you just have to do what's good for you and what's good for the people that you truly care about. I mean, I just had so much stuff. I mean, there was like, let me think. I mean, I could, shit, I could name like a million, but for example, like The Guardian, like my apartment burnt down, I lost everything I owned, my dog died, and the next day there was like a piece about me that was just like, well, is it that bad? Like, I mean, that shit is not happening to other people. Like that, they're not gonna write that article about someone else. And like, you know, Lollapalooza, I played like 2 years ago, and security guards jumped me and shifted my kneecap, and I was in like a leg brace for months, and I had to carry on playing shows because if I didn't, I would lose all my money. Like I had to like keep doing that, and they deleted the footage like the next day. That night they blamed it on Eminem's security and were telling me to tweet that. They were telling me to tweet it that it was Eminem's security, and we held out and then found out, of course, that it wasn't, of course. And then it was just like hushed down. It was like a little story, and it was just like kind of gone with the wind. Like I can't, those situations happen, and I would be a fool not to understand why. And so with that, I'm just like, well, fuck it, these are my rules now. There's like nothing else to do.
I think, I think we've reached a point where as black artists, we are now in a space, like I was saying to you earlier, like we are freer than we've ever been to kind of define that blackness, not just by white journalism, but also within our own communities. Like there's a line that you always, in the album, where you say, all I ever wanted was a chance for myself. And I think about that in terms of when we have a movement where we are getting together for the right to be individual. And I think that line reminds me of that constantly, where it's like when we talk about racism, we talk about all this stuff. It's not about like, I want to be you, I just want to be free to be me. Yeah. And so this album strikes me as you being free to be yourself, and I love that so much of the focus of it is the feminine, the black feminine. You use a lot of quotes in the album, one of my favorites are the Paris Miss Burning quotes.
Oh yeah,
I like
Venus.
to find safe zone in that movie,
Cool.
which I think you seem to as
Yes,
well.
definitely.
Can you talk a little bit about your connection to that movie, your connection maybe to that time in New York, and also the process of picking those quotes?
Yeah. Well, I mean, honestly, Blood Orange as a project wouldn't really exist, I think, if it wasn't for that movie. Like, at all. I mean, there was a demo, which I think is still online, but a demo for a song called Sutphin Boulevard that I did. And I uploaded, I made the song while watching the film for like the millionth time. Like, the song was written watching the film, and I recorded my demo of the song by splicing the music with the film as a video, and then I uploaded it to YouTube, and that's essentially the first Blood Orange song that ever existed. I found a real warmth with that film and that world. I'd just moved to New York, and I just found it was just so inspiring to me, that whole world. I was going to like some Vogue nights like by myself, and really just getting to know myself, and dancing, and just kind of trying to feel like warmth that was around me. But you know, the thing that really struck me at that moment was that was the year that the like It Gets Better campaign was happening. It was the gay teen suicides, and I was someone that was crazy bullied growing up just for being different and a weird kid or whatever, and it really like fucked me up, because I was there. I'd been at that point where you'd think there was only one way out, and something about this scene and that world that they created in that film really made me feel at home in a way that I can't even truly describe. But it really helped me. Like, it really made me feel like at peace with a lot of things. Like, the only thank you on the first Blood Orange album is to Octavia St. Laurent. That's the only thank you on Coastal Grooves, the first Blood Orange album, because it was really everything to me. And so yeah, and then going back to all the quotes on this album they were really so natural. There was never really a situation where I was just like, what would I put here? And it's just how I work is in that way. Like, I'll have these things in my head that will spiral off, and sometimes I'll have the words from someone else, and I'll write music like around that situation too. And I have a crazy like my computer's just full of these different things, like these interviews and things I've recorded off my phone and quotes, and it was actually a lot more intense before I mixed it. Like, it was maybe a little crazier.
Are there any that you particularly love that made the album that really are like personal favorites?
I love the Venus Extravaganza moment.
Good.
Okay, cool.
I think the reason, because people don't really know the context. I assume many of you have seen Paris is Burning, and the context of that quote, that she's basically trying to like pretend she's not hooking, but like also excusing hooking.
Yes, exactly.
And I'm like, that's such a New York hustler thing to say. And there is a lot of that of the album that feels so New York. Yeah. And I think even the blackness of the album, all of that, the politicalness of it, to me seems so much of an observation of this place.
Yeah, definitely.
How do you feel about that statement, me saying?
Yeah, no, I fully agree. I'm still just kind of looking around, you know? It's really all I'm ever doing. I'm just walking around and just taking shit in and just looking, and and just thinking. I've said it a few times actually, but this album is really, if you listen to it, you're really just listening to me thinking, but through like a 3-year period, just kind of thrown into a weird like 58-minute mix. But it's, you know, there's situations on there which are me in certain situations and my thought process. There's a lot of songs that's basically just my thought process in regards to different situations that I was in.
I think you are very well known as a collaborator, I think, with a lot of, for me, a lot of black women, a lot of women, period.
Yeah.
But also definitely a lot of black women. You recently said like Solange and Nina Simone are your favorite singers. And the one thing I realized is your album starts with that awesome poem from Ashley Hayes, correct?
Yeah.
And I think about how Beyonce's album also starts with that poetry, and how poetry was such a stark part of her album, and how even for me as a black woman, poetry has long been kind of an oral history for us. And I think, what do you think about it that kind of draws you? There's a lot of feminine in the album.
Yeah.
You know, there's so, like, I hate when people say feminist, because to me it's feminine. Like, there's a femininity to it. There's the quotes of women, the way you speak to stuff. What do you think about it that kind of talk to me about that? Talk to me about you, black women.
Yeah.
How you get there, like where your mind is at.
I mean, I think I said it somewhere before, but I think the female voice, not just the female singing voice, is like the most important voice. I've just always felt that. I in my life, it's, you know, going back to my mother and beyond. It's just, I just think it's a true important voice, and I don't ever think, I'm fully aware that I want it to be heard more, but I can't say that voice. Like, I can't speak it. I can't do that. And so I want to try and let that shine through in any way I can, and just try and honor it in some way. And so yeah, that was kind of with that first song of Ashley Hayes, like that's really how that came about, because that, I mean, shit, that poem is really one of the greatest poems I've ever heard. It is from another world, and it said everything that I musically and somewhat lyrically in that first song was trying to get to. And that was actually, you know what, that is, it's funny because that's maybe the only moment that kind of was like a eureka moment. Like, it was a real, I had the song and I didn't have the Ashley Hayes part. I knew of it, but I didn't really think of it. What it was before that actually is it went into a talk that Hilton Als was giving about Diane Arbus, and so that was which I had recorded from. It was at the New Museum. So it went into that, and it was him, you know, and he's such a wonderful speaker, and it was him kind of saying like, I mean, it's funny because Diane Arbus and Missy Elliott are pretty far removed, but he was saying like pretty similar things, and it was really beautiful, but it wasn't like hitting the mark, you know. And then it was just like a Ashley Hayes, like it just, I don't know what, it just like hit me. And
that poem struck me because the black woman is left out of the black narrative very often. Like, the line is, it's so hard to be a black man in America. And the erasure of black women, which you speak to a lot in your album, is such a part of the story that's getting a light now. And I think it parallels the idea of being liberated as a black person, of being more than just one thing, of having more than just one story. Yeah. So I think, just like, I'm like talking to you like,
no, it's cool. It's
no, I know. I'm like, never mind all these people. What are we talking about? I'm like, no question. I wanna get your feeling on the word Black liberation right now, on what it really means to be free, to have that Freetown sound, to have that. Like you said, you're in your own space now. You don't give a fuck. So what does that mean now? What are the priorities now? Musically, life wise, like getting, a message to you.
Life wise, I mean, it's all in the same thing to me, but I really care about my happiness and people I love's happiness, and even like, and when I say people I love, like I don't even mean just like people in family or friends, and that can sound like cheesy or corny or whatever, but I mean I genuinely mean it. Like I mean like the kids that are just being like clowned because they're not like, they're being clowned because they're not a black that maybe people around them want them to be, and that goes for being bullied by black people and to being like, I guess like, trying to think, because I'm relating it to myself, like where I grew up in Essex and in England, it's a crazy part of town. Like it's where the BNP, which was the British National Party, that's like the most racist, keep Britain like white party ever. That's where they were in power. So I grew up in that area, and I was bullied by black people. I was in that area knowing that when I was walking home, I had to cross the street if I saw the Union Jack or the English flag. So first of all, I'm in this country that I'm from and born in, and if I see the flag of the country, I have to cross the street because I'll probably get the shit kicked out of me. And at the same time, there was black kids kicking the shit out of me. And so it was like, I mean, it's the craziest mindfuck, as you can probably imagine. But the thing is that as I got older and basically taught myself about black people, because that's not taught in the schools. In England, that's not taught at all. I mean, I didn't go to school here, and I've heard it's not really taught that much here either. I'm just gonna guess that, like, but yeah, in England it's like not at all. It doesn't even exist. Like it's no word, not mentioned. And I always equated it back to the deeper problem as to why I was getting bullied by black people, because I never understood it. I always felt so like upset and betrayed, and and it's funny because it reminds me, and this is like, I mean, I don't even want to do like a comparison, but it's just an interview that I saw very recently. But there's an interview with Tupac for when he went when he was in prison, and it was after he'd been shot, and they asked him about like what was he thinking at the time, and he said, I can't believe I was shot by a black person. That was his like takeaway from when he got shot, like in the studio. His biggest thing, he couldn't believe that black people shot him. And and that was kind of the emotions that I was thinking about. And I think about that now, and I get messages from kids like who tell me about how they don't feel like they really like fit in, and so I want to try, and if I can do anything and just make one person like that who's grown up in that same way that I grew up, if I can make them realize that no, like, you are black and you are who you are, and you can be whatever you want to be. There's no right or wrong. Like, you are just you, and you live that to the fullest. So if I can just even like make one person even like slightly think that, like, that's to me the biggest thing in the world.
Do you feel like being bullied by those that looked like you kind of made you feel rejected in a sense? And how did you find to reclaim that? Like you said, you taught yourself about being black, and I feel like a lot of people who go through that when they get younger, they get older and they just kind of there's like a resentment towards blackness. I was never fitting in, I don't want to fit in now. But you seem to be doing the opposite. To me, it's like you're like, I never fit in, but guess what? I still see and hear and breathe all of the pain that we are all kind of. How do you get to that point? How do you, you know?
I mean, I'm 30. It took a long fucking time. But you know, I just I always say, like, I always say to people that I feel like I'm from the school of like Miles and Prince and Nina, and you know, and James Baldwin, Essex Hemphill and Marlon Riggs, and I like looked to those people because there are people at one time who I think had felt like a sting from black people at some point in their lives, and they just, I mean, a sting from black people and a whole lot of stinging from white people too, I should add, you know, but all those people like really just kept to themselves, and there's no one else like them, and they know that, and they own that. And I feel like it's kind of like it's like the Ashley Hayes thing when she says, you know, like, your light doesn't make mine any dimmer. I think about that line all the time because I think that's why I feel so comfortable with myself, because I don't know, like, no one, this isn't even like an arrogance thing, but like, no one can do what I do because I'm the only me. I can't do what someone else does. So why would I, you know, waste my time even like contemplating that sort of emotional energy? Because, you know, I know what I can do, so I just want to like do it to the most, you know.
So I think this is kind of probably one of the last things I want to talk to you about. I think there's an entitlement that comes with when you're a black artist that has an audience that is diverse or mostly white. I think we see it in rap. I think we see it a lot. I mean, we've seen it even, especially around the time with that last EP that you worked with Solange when True came out, and a lot of people were talking about Solange's audience being mostly white, your audience is being mostly white, and I think a lot of white media use that as some sort of like a degradation to your blackness, right? Like, your music can't be black because white people love it too damn much. And and I think that always translates back to the artist as to say somehow you're courting white listeners. Like, oh, all these people like your show are white and they're courting you. But I think we were talking about backstage about that song that you wrote. Sorry, I forget which song. Chance, where you're discussing being at the A$AP Rocky Tyler Creator Show, seeing that white girl in that Thug Life shirt, and like being in that audience.
I don't know if you guys know that song, but if you do, that's what it's about.
It's pretty specific about like trying to see what's on this girl's shirt, and I think that's something that's very millennial for us. Seeing what happened with our parents in the 80s, all of that integration of we all are one, we're all human, we all listen to rap, and now it's 2016, and the only people in the videos that are dying look like us. But when we go and we sing and talk and praise and try to mourn that, it don't look like us. You know? So for me, I just kind of want to talk to you. I know you said that I asked you if you were going on tour. You said no, you're going to do a couple shows. And I feel like a lot of for me, I felt like a lot of you pulling back on presenting that was kind of because of the audience. But how do you take this album and bring it to an audience and be aware of that, but not let that change you?
It's interesting. Yeah, I mean, I try and... So, okay, Miles Davis would say this thing where he didn't want to... and it's kind of it's unfair, and maybe I'll get to that. But he would always say this thing about how he didn't want to be Louis Armstrong, and that's why he was like, you know, he would go on stage like no smiles, and he would just go up, play, back to the audience, like smoke a cigarette. You know, he knew that the people that would come to the show, he didn't want to be up there like smiling and jiving like for his audience. And to be honest, there's been moments in the last like month or so where I felt that way. And it's insane because it's just I love dancing and I love the music I make and I love sharing it. But then there's definitely been moments where I've just been on stage and I realize I'm dancing, I look out and I just see these faces just like watching me. They just watch. I mean, like, it's not.
I call it the teach me how to dance. Teach me how to dance like you.
You know, like, and it's like they're not. Let me say, like, they're not. It's like they're not with me. They're not with me, and that fucking kills me. It, like, destroys me. Like, it puts me in like the craziest stink for a long time, because I ain't about to be like shucking and jiving on stage for people, you know, like that's not why I do this, like, at all. But so yeah, so I think, so what I'm doing is there's like a few shows starting with LA end of the year, and then end of August, and in September there'll be a couple East Coast things, but it's like Freetown Sound show. Like, that is what you're going to see. I'm telling you, you're going to see this. You know, like, there's no like mistaking it. And so, I mean, obviously, like, anyone's welcome. I'm not trying to say people don't come, but I'm trying to like make it very apparent. I mean, this reminds me of yesterday. I was telling Solange actually about how, I mean, I've seen Kendrick play like a lot of times this year. And there was one show in particular where I was just there like rapping every word, every syllable, like from my like gut out, you know, those moments when you're like at a show, like just everything. And there was a guy next to me.
I bet everybody in the room just like.
I don't want to, but, and you know, I have to be careful here because it's not, I'm not trying to like hate on anyone, but there was like an English dude, there was a white guy, and I knew, and he was with like some girls, and I'd seen him like rapping along, you know, impressing the girls, like he knows every word, like that kind of shit, and I saw that go down. And I can't remember what song it was. I wish for the life of me I can remember what song it was, but I was like even more like Super Saiyan in it. Like I'd gone like I was so in the moment, like eyes locked with Kendrick, like rapping along. You know, like that shit when you're like, he's talking to me. Like, so I was doing that, and I looked over and I saw that he was looking at me, and he stopped and he didn't rap again for the rest of the show. And I just feel, you know, the hits are big that he has, but when you're rapping along to a line like, and we hate Popo, wanna kill us dead in the streets for show.
Yeah. It's the lack of self-awareness.
I mean, there's certain people that are feeling that line, you know? So, I don't know where I was going with that, but that is kind of the eternal question, what you said. It's like what I think about a lot, because I'm weird about life stuff anyway. And so, in particular, I'm just really, I think all I can do is just say, like, this is what you're going to get, and then just, like, deliver even more. And so that's what I'm going to try and do these shows this year.
Yeah? I'm like, before we start, that white people are crazy!
No, I'm being...
I don't know how much more I can say about it.
I know, Kendrick just...
So, I mean, this is out. This is done. Are you recording even more? Are you still working on more ideas with this piece? What's now? What now?
I have a lot more of it. I have so much music. I mean, I had like 3 or 4 different playlists, because that's how I do my albums. I'll do a bunch of tracks and put them in playlists and walk around and listen to them. There's like 4 different playlists, and maybe only like 3 songs repeated on each one. So there's a lot of music. I'm gonna work out what to do with it. You know, in some regards, like I think some of it was, if I was to put it out, like the songs are, I don't use the term like catchier, but like more accessible and stuff. But it was a real thing that I'm such an album lover that I really will like just like ruthlessly cut tracks just to make sure that it's an album of music, you know. And and that's why Sandra Smiles like not on the album, and Do You See Him Skin Through My Flames is on the album, because I just felt like it didn't fit in as an album of music. Those songs are very particular, and each one is about very particular things. And you know, and they actually I'm doing like a 10-inch of that, so it can exist like not just on the internet. But this album was so many things through my mind, and I wanted it to feel that way, you know. And so that's why it kind of takes me a while to put these things together. But there's a lot more music, and I'll probably throw it out there at some point.
Okay. Thanks for coming. This has been Roll Back Say That with Saint Heron. I'll be the one behind.